and we have to put ourselves out there. Like you can't create something beautiful and then go bury it in your backyard and expect people to find it. Like there is a sense of like you have to be vulnerable and it sucks and we all have to do that. But your identity and your value and your worth isn't tied to this being a success. At the end of the day, things failing, they're a data point. And sometimes data points hurt. Just looking at it as like, well, this is the data. What do we do with it?
How do we be logical?
Yeah, and that's hard. And so I think having the community to support that, is just great.
Welcome to the Entrepreneur's Blueprint. I'm Courtney Cook, founder of Monarch COO, where I help mission-driven entrepreneurs grow their businesses. Each week, I sit down with inspiring entrepreneurs to explore the stories behind their successes and challenges. Whether you're just dreaming of starting a business or already building one, this podcast is here to show you that entrepreneurship is more attainable than it might seem, with insights for every stage of the journey. Let's dive in to today's conversation and see what it takes to build a business. Today on the podcast, we have Polly Payne. Polly, welcome. I'm excited to have you.
Thanks so much for having me. I'm so excited.
Will you kick us off by sharing about your business and what you do, who you serve, and how long you've been a business owner?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm Polly Payne, the CEO and founder of Horacio Printing. I started Horacio in August I guess the ideation was August of 2014. So that would put me at a little over 10 years. We kicked off in October 2014. So yeah, over 10 years, I've been making planners. My first hero product was the 2015 Dream Planner. And the business was totally a side hustle to begin with. And since then, I've expanded my product line into Bible studies, journals, notepads. We did subscription boxes for a while, but basically all sorts of resources to help Christian dreamers really focus on their schedule and make time to pursue their big dreams and their God-given purpose. So that's how we kicked things off. In the past couple years, really since 2022, I launched another division of my company, empowering other people to print their thing. So over the years, a lot of people have asked me, hey, how did you start your business? Hey, I have something I want to print, like a devotional or a planner even. And eventually I gave in and was like, okay, there's a need here because publishing and printing and all of that is kind of like this big mysterious process. Mm-hmm. And if you haven't kind of cut through into the woods of like, what are you supposed to do and how does it work? There's not really a lot of training out there for this industry. And so, especially in like a luxury space, in like a more high quality space. So I built Print School, and now I've taken hundreds of students through that process of launching their paper product business. So got my hands in a couple different things, and it's been a fun journey.
That's interesting. So how did you have paper experience or printing experience prior to Horacio, or what was your experience coming into it? And did you already kind of know the path? And what did that look like?
Yeah, so I had no paper experience. My background was in PR and communications. And then I was working in New York at a couple different ad tech companies. Mm. So I had a lot of startup experience working with, really small companies that were growing and hungry and young and nimble and technology, really. I will say my paper background just came from my own enthusiasm as a paper snob. I love paper and I'm very forgetful. And as a student, whenever they would give us like a calendar at the beginning of the year, like I kept it all year because if I don't write something down, it doesn't happen. Yeah. Like I'll forget absolutely everything unless I remember, I write it down to do it. So I've always loved paper and getting a new planner every year and back to school supplies and things like that. And I had the itch to just start a company in general. Like I didn't know what that company was going to be, but like that dream was there for a long time since I was a kid. And I remember reading the 4-Hour Workweek years ago and being like, what's my thing going to be? I had an iPhone app that I worked on actually for a while. I had the wireframe built, I had the programmer, and then another venture capital company came out with like the exact idea, really quickly. And I was like, oh, that, I kind of gave up on that. And I kept coming back to, you know, really my love of planners. And also, there was this book that I read that really inspired me to make a planner. And the book was The Artisan Soul. And so it came back to my faith. Erwin McManus wrote this book, The Artisan Soul, and it's all the concept that because we're created in the image of God, we're all artists, and your life is your canvas. And that really just hit home because I hadn't painted at that point probably in 8 years,
Mm-hmm.
and I consider myself an artist growing up and loving to do anything creative. And that part of me was kind of like stuffed down living in New York in the rat race.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, my life is my canvas. And then when I started to reflect on that, it was like, well, my canvas is awful. Like it's just a mess. My life's a mess. Like I'm not doing anything creative. I'm not pursuing my dream of starting a business. And then I was like, you know what? I really need a planner. And that's kind of when it just clicked for me. Like I'm going to make a planner.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to make it unapologetically Christian. I'm going to partner with God in this. And I really want to just change my life. Like I'm
Yeah.
not a victim to my circumstances. I can change my life. I'm in control of this. And anyway, so that's kind of how it kicked off. And I had a friend at work named Grace who did a Kickstarter to launch her magazine company. And I
Oh,
remember watching her and being like, wow, Grace raised 10 grand to launch her magazine.
yeah.
How cool. And so watching her, there's something about just being in proximity of
Mm-hmm.
people pursuing their dreams and then
Yeah.
also accomplishing said dream,
Yeah.
that just kind of gives you that sense of like, that's a path. Like I could make this happen. I didn't do a Kickstarter my first year, but watching her do that, watching her print it, watching her launch her campaign, it definitely put a fuel under me.
Mm-hmm.
She also gave me the contact to the printer that she worked with,
Oh,
which
cool.
was helpful. And the two people that I worked with at my second ad tech company I worked at, they became my partners in design. They both went to art school in New
Awesome.
York. And so it was like,
So
yay, let's all
perfect.
work together. And yeah, we launched that first one in October of 2014.
That's amazing. So, excuse me. So, help me understand too when you started working with this printer. Like, what was your process? How long did that take to like start the sampling work and getting all that figured out? Like, if you compare the process then to what it is now, like, how has that evolution looked?
Yeah, it's definitely different. The printer I worked with my first year was very expensive. They
Mm,
were in North America, they're in Canada, and they were
okay.
wonderful. Like I have nothing but good things to say. I think all Canadians are pretty lovely, but they were great, but they were so expensive.
Yeah.
The good thing about working with them was they had an on-site fulfillment center,
Oh.
which was nice, but also everything's shipping from Canada, so that was kind of spendy. And then I couldn't get the product the way my brain like envisioned it. Like it wasn't hardcover, it didn't have tabs, there were no pockets. The coil was black. Like so it was like it wasn't everything I dreamed it would be, but it was good enough. And
Yeah.
anyway, so I really took off running with them. Like it was like I'm making this. Here we are in August, like, oh my gosh, we have to have this by November. So I remember looking at my timeline and being like, oh man. So I really just lived under a rock for like 3 months,
Yeah.
with my team over at my house. We're like
Nice.
designing together on my couch. We're printing it out and testing it and printing it out and testing it locally. And the process was me reaching out and getting quotes and being like, wow, this is going to be so expensive. Like, I don't even know
Hmm.
how to make this work profitability wise. Like, it
Yeah.
just seemed like, well, how does anyone make this work? And this isn't even exactly how I want it.
Hmm.
It was a lot of like leap of faith. I knew I was called to it. And so
Yeah.
it was like, this has to happen. Like, I didn't have this dream for nothing.
Hmm.
And so we stretched, and I think we bought 1,000 the first year for like $28 an item.
Oh
And
my gosh. Yeah.
it was like, well,
Crazy.
that's just, that's what we have to do because I
Yeah.
didn't know any better. I didn't know any
Yeah.
other options.
Right.
And then we rush shipped everything. And uh, Yeah, but luckily, once it's printed there, it's
Yeah.
there locally, right?
Yep.
So
You
it's
weren't
like
shipping it.
shipping
Yeah.
was that whole piece of the timeline was removed, which was great. But they shipped some to my house, and yeah, and so from there we launched and sold out by January, and it was like, wow, like this really
Amazing.
took off. People embraced it,
Yeah.
which was so exciting and rewarding. And I wasn't planning on quitting my job anytime soon
Yeah.
because obviously the profit margin wasn't there at the time. But now everything's changed. The way
Mhm.
we, go about our design and editing, sampling, all of it has changed because we work so far in advance. We
Mhm.
work with printers overseas. We get a much more luxury product.
Yeah.
We take a lot more time to do all the sampling. Um, and we offer multiple styles, multiple SKUs, um, really luxury packaging, the same kind of packaging you'd have for like a leather bag,
Yeah.
with like the dust bag and the accessories and stuff. So it's morphed over the last 10 years. Every year we do a survey to the customers and ask like, what else would you like or what would you want to change? So every year there's always some sort of upgrade or, additional fun thing that's happening with the planner.
Yeah.
But yeah, the first year was completely different. It was just kind of the wild, wild west, making mistakes as you go, figuring
Mhm.
it out as you go.
Yeah, you have to start somewhere and
Mhm.
it might be expensive to start, but it's like, well, is the demand here? And if it is for this format, then like, yeah, there's totally line of sight to more and better and things that can really serve these women. And you're right that like there is something I think you do have this like niche of you're offering a different planner. Not only, I mean, yes, it's faith based, but when you look at the how you unpackage it, it's there's nothing else like it. And I think the way you found this is my little niche here, and I'm offering something that's completely unique is really smart, and it's cool to see where you started. I didn't realize it wasn't even hardback the first version, so that's really cool how you've iterated. And you said before you grew when you were growing up, you always were an artist. So tell me more about what your childhood was like.
So my dad was somewhat of an entrepreneur. He had his own business as an appraiser,
Oh,
and so
cool.
he worked from home. And I remember always wanting to play secretary on his, at his
Yeah.
desk and like staple things and stuff. I was like, when I grow up, I'm going to be a secretary. And he's
Yeah.
like, no, you're going to do something bigger. My mom was a teacher, and so I also loved playing teacher. And so it's kind of funny how my dream of having a store, playing secretary, and also playing teacher kind of all morphed into the career I'm walking in now. Kind of crazy. I'd always set up my room to be like a little store and like price everything. And I'd put signage around the
Mm.
house, like stores open,
That's awesome.
come to the store. And like try to convince one of my brothers to come in and buy something for $1. Um,
Nice.
but I grew up in South Alabama on the Gulf Coast. I will say Fairhope, the little town that I'm from, is very artsy. We have a world
Oh,
class
cool.
arts and crafts festival every year. And
Nice.
we have a lot of resident people that come and do artist in residency programs there, and a lot of writers, like the writer who wrote Forrest Gump, and a lot of people like they just
That's
kind of
awesome.
gravitate to this town. There's something about the coast, being on the bluff.
Yeah.
Um, it's just beautiful. I was just there recently, and it does kind of just take your breath away. The way the sun sets across the bay
Yeah.
and the nature of Mobile Bay and the wildlife, um, the oak trees, the Spanish moss. Like it really is like I didn't realize how beautiful it was till I left for college, and it was
Yeah.
like, oh, I am from a really beautiful place. But we always had great art programs in school. We had great art teachers,
Cool.
and that was really something that inspired me. We had a great like theater program, and so being able to cultivate that, because I will say the other um, subjects in school I wasn't quite as strong in, particularly anything with spelling and um, memorization was not my thing. And anyway, so I really thrived more in the arts, and
Cool.
was grateful to be in a place that kind of um, cultured that.
Yeah, that's really neat. So when you started print school, how did you said that people were kind of asking, can you help? Maybe they were asking for a finder's fee or whatnot, but what were some of those interactions initially like? And what was it ultimately that you're like, fine, I'll do it?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I had many times promised myself I would never do it. Early on,
Oh,
I had someone totally rip me off and like ask like, "Hey, who's your printer?" All this stuff, and it was like a friend of a friend, and I gave advice and coached her a little bit over email, and she completely stole my layout of my planner and then launched a
my
Kickstarter. It
gosh.
raised 6 figures on the Kickstarter. And I remember just being devastated. Like, why did I help her? Like, why did she rip me off? I was so upset.
Yeah.
And at that moment, I remember promising myself, I'm never doing that again. Like,
Hmm.
I worked too hard to, make all the mistakes and learn this the hard way to share it. But God really softened my heart over the years, and I realized there were so many things that needed to be born that I wasn't going to make. Like I love the ideation process and
Hmm.
ooh, I should make, ooh, I should make, ooh, I should make. Like I want to make all the things, but there came a point where it's like I'm not called to write the book on how to find yourself after divorce or the
Hmm.
cancer warrior planner or like all these things that need to be born.
Yeah.
And so over the years, people would reach out and ask for me to coach them, right? And so I started doing some business coaching of all different kinds of businesses. Um, I created the dream crafting course to help people like craft their dream and find their purpose and dream again, because that's a big piece of it.
Yeah.
Um, just having hope to dream is just such a big hurdle. And then from there, I created the Faith Filled Business Blueprint, and it just kept becoming more and more clear. Like you need to teach the publishing process, and so because I had built a system of how to get your idea out of your head. And the printers I've built my partnerships with and relationships with, they're really great. And so basically, I just decided I'm going to do it. I had a business coach that was like, "You've got to do this. Like, this makes total sense."
Yeah.
It also felt more exciting to teach something that's a little more black and white, because for so long I
Yeah.
had been teaching on your purpose or things that are just harder to touch and harder to cross the finish line on, if that makes
Hmm.
sense.
Hmm.
And so I was really excited to kind of teach something a bit more black and white and really just get people the result they wanted. It was super clear. And so we tested that. I built the first iteration of Print School. I had the dream of it for 2 years, but I didn't actually start filming the course until my son was 6 months old
Oh
and
my
finally
God.
was in daycare. So I was like brewing on it for
Yeah.
so long. And then it was like, okay,
Here we go.
daycare's booked, like let's go. And of course the first month of daycare he's home like 50% of the time
He's
because he's
sick.
so sick.
Yes.
But
Oh my gosh.
we made it through that season, and it was so fun. I felt like I was holding on to so much, like this is mine, this is mine,
Hmm.
and so there was such a release of just saying no, go and do. Like now you're empowered. Let me help you. Like the competitive spirit in me was kind of severed a bit, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
It was freeing. It was great. So and it's been beautiful to watch people create things that I would have never made that are thriving and wonderful and supporting their ministries. It's just been really fun. I get to live kind of vicariously through a lot of
Yeah.
my students as they create things that I wasn't meant to create.
Right. And you get to see like what other people in this same industry are doing and just I think the community you've built of like we're all in this together. Some days like when tariffs change, we're all feeling turmoil.
Mhm.
Or like but you have these other people in your community that you can really lean on and understand. I'm sure they love that, especially because they're new to it, and the relationships that they're creating as well, because of this program is probably
Mhm.
beautiful to witness.
Yeah, that's been fun. Everyone's super supportive. I think some people are honestly freaked out at first, like, "Well, this is a group of my competitors. Like, how am I gonna like, how are we
Fair.
really gonna cheer each other on?" And it's surprising how much there is just, like, so much support and rallying
Yeah.
around people's campaigns and launches. Um, and a lot of people are there too, obviously, for the black and white stuff that I teach, the strategy. There's
Hmm.
a lot of like mindset work that goes into being an entrepreneur, of fear of failure, fear of judgment, you know, because for a lot of people, one of the most awkward parts of it is what their family's going to think,
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
their people, friends at work are going to think.
Hmm.
And I remember going through that. And sometimes the people you thought would be the biggest cheerleaders aren't,
Hmm.
and just processing that can when you do it alone can be really lonely.
Hmm.
And so being able to do that in a place and like, hey, how do I process, my launch is coming up in a month and I'm just kind of having this spiral, and so going through some of that on the coaching calls and being able to encourage people with, yes, we want this to succeed and we're going to take all the steps we can and we have to put ourselves out there. Like you can't create something beautiful and then go bury it in your backyard
Yeah.
and expect people to find it. Like there is a sense of like you have to be vulnerable and it
Right.
sucks. And we all have to do that. But your identity and your value and your worth isn't tied to this being a success. At the end of the
Hmm.
day, things failing, they're a data point.
Yep.
And sometimes data points hurt, and
Hmm.
it's like, uh, and it's not what you wanted or how you envisioned it, but it's like I just love the idea of like data over drama as much
Yeah.
as I can be very dramatic. Just looking at it as like, well, this is the data. What do we
Yeah.
do with it?
Yeah. How do we be
And
logical?
yeah, and that's hard. And so I think having the community to support that, is just great.
Yeah. I think you're a great example for them where of back to the competition piece of it, of you're kind of creating your own competitors. You're not kind of, you are. Like I'm sure there's plenty of planners that have been printed through print school that are like, all right, here we go. It's such a great example of generosity and servant leadership that you show by doing that. And I think early in business, we can all get a little like, oh my gosh, they're doing the same thing as me. I don't want to talk to them. I don't want to follow them or whatever. And I think if you can remove that competitiveness to say, no, there's probably more for us here if we collaborate and talk. Like,
Mhm,
there's plenty of business to go around.
mhm,
Why not learn from each other?
mhm,
Uh, there's all I can say is there's plenty of business to go around for sure. So I think it's admirable the way you are just willing to say like, yeah, I'm going to put everything on the line and help you all succeed and dream and find that new niche of what they can offer to the world.
mhm. Yeah, I mean, that's been scary at times for sure, but,
Yeah.
like you said, there's plenty of people who want this,
Yeah, for
and we're
sure.
all meant to create our own ripples
Mm-hmm.
and put our own
I love that.
fingerprints on what we create. Um, and so I just kind of stick to that. And God's been very clear with that. Like, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
going to do it.
Yep.
And so far, that's proven very fruitful. And I've just really enjoyed watching other people let their thing take off. It's
Mm-hmm.
been more fun than I even thought it was going to be,
Yeah.
and
Then you
that's
could
been
have
really
imagined.
great.
That's great. So, what's been the most rewarding part of your entrepreneurial journey as a mother, a wife, a business owner? What comes to mind of like when you look back, you're like, I'm so glad I did this.
Hmm. There's a lot of things I could probably touch on, but when I think about my children, um, I'm really grateful to have the flexibility to work at home,
Mm-hmm.
to help pay our mortgage,
Mm-hmm.
to contribute, to like let something creative and spiritually fulfilling pay the bills. Like,
Yeah.
that's just been so amazing. I didn't mind working for someone else, but I really prefer working for myself, to be
Yeah.
quite honest. I think it is important at some point in your career. I would, if anyone's like, I wonder what I should do straight out of college, I'm like, go work for someone else,
Yeah.
please. Go learn. Because I learned so much working for other companies, other startups, watching other founders create
Mhm.
with excellence and build systems and have integrity. And they were so smart. And like, I wouldn't have learned all the stuff that I learned about ads and pixels and marketing if I hadn't
Yeah.
taken that like uh, corporate career to start with. But I really like working for myself. Not everybody can enjoy working from home. And like I was doing it since 2016.
It's
And so
crazy.
when COVID came, I was like, here we go. Like
No big deal.
I'm already a hermit.
Yeah.
So this is great. Not really great, but it wasn't a big shift for us, which was kind of wild.
Yeah.
So I really have enjoyed being home and having the ability to be on maternity leave and be flexible to go to school if I need to go to school to pick up my kids or
Mhm.
whatever that looks like. That's been really, really beautiful on a personal front. For the business, getting the getting the early reviews of planner buyers and
Mhm.
what God was saying through the planner to them that I could have never dreamed.
Yeah.
That was probably like the first big, like, whoa, this is bigger than me.
Mhm.
I had people emailing us saying, hey, I lost my job. I was so stressed. And then your planner arrived on my doorstep, and God told me the best is yet to come.
Mhm.
And I came home from a funeral of this horrific tragedy, and your planner was on my doorstep.
Wow.
Just crazy stuff where God would move and breathe and speak through a
Mhm.
product that like I thought was pretty. I mean, I thought the best is yet to come is great. It's a reflection of heaven and the future and
Yeah.
glory, but and also like hope that like
Mhm.
good things are coming. It's all those things wrapped up, but the way he used it beyond my dreams was like, wow, I'm so glad I did this. Like I
Mhm.
had no idea how it would touch people. When I launched the Bible studies, hearing people say, like, I'm actually like staying in the word now. Like, this was really doable for me in my busy life to just jump in, read a scripture, do a soap. It's starting to become routine. Like, I could cry. Like,
Yeah.
that's amazing. Just that something that I made that someone was like, hey, you should make that. You could probably print it better and higher quality. It's like, and then iteration, you finally put it
Mhm.
out there and then it's actually received. And there's been a lot of times where things failed and it really sucked.
Mhm.
And I don't know, maybe you were going to ask me that, but there's been a lot of humbling moments too,
Mhm.
where I remember having so much hopelessness and being like, well, great,
Yeah.
I launched this, or I built my first, like, I remember building my first business coaching offering and like no one signed up. I remember like, I just spent like 40 hours filming this thing. Like, oh God. And God was like, where's your hope? Is your
Yeah.
hope in sales?
Mhm.
And so even the bad moments have been humbling
Yeah.
in a beautiful way because
Mhm.
it's like, where's your hope? Is it in this or is it in me?
Yeah.
And so um I think the entrepreneurial journey is so refining. It's painful, but like I keep reminding myself like you can do hard things
Yeah.
as
Yeah.
much as you want to just go back to bed and curl up in your bed.
Yeah. Yeah. We're made to grow and stretch, and unfortunately, those hard times feel like I am never going to get out of this deep water. It's a slog. I feel like I'm drowning. But on the other side of that, it's so much greater. And then it happens again and you're drowning again. But yeah. I think it is really rewarding to see, oh my gosh, I just made it through that. Like
Mhm.
that was terrible, but I did not know I had that in me.
Yeah.
What would you tell your younger self? Like looking back at a certain point in your life, maybe it's when you were super young, maybe it's in college or in high school. What's one thing that you look back and you're like, man, I should have, I should have approached this in a different way? Or what's that advice you would give your younger self?
Probably wear sunscreen. Quit going to the tanning bed.
Oh,
You don't tan. No.
it's true though. We should have
Like,
never been doing
truthfully,
that.
like, just do a spray tan.
Yes.
Do not give yourself so much sun damage. Um, I mean, God, what a loaded question. I think the biggest problem I had back then, if I could tell her, I would just tell her to respect herself more.
Hmm.
Like, respect yourself, respect your decisions, and like, don't hang out with people that don't respect you.
Yeah.
Like, that's what I hope to pass on to my daughter is her sense of value and worth. Um, because our value and worth when we're young is so confusing. You learn that your value is in your looks and your
Hmm.
body, and you're like, as much as you don't want to admit it, you kind of feel like that's a currency.
Yeah.
Um, and we're just so much more than that.
Hmm.
And so I made a lot of poor decisions uh, with just not respecting myself.
Yeah.
Moving to New York, I put myself in some dangerous positions in the first couple years of being there out of lack of self-respect, and so I think that's probably the biggest thing I would say to her. Um, it's okay for people not to like you.
Hmm.
It's okay. You don't have to make everybody happy because
Yeah.
some people aren't safe.
Yeah.
And yeah, I definitely like a recovering people pleaser
Yeah.
for sure.
Hmm.
Um, and probably like your mom was typically right.
It's true. It's true.
Probably listen to her a little more
You
than you
should.
want to. But I danced to the beat of my own drum. Like,
Hmm.
I went off to New York and went off to Europe and did a lot of things that were out of my comfort zone. I wouldn't tell her to do anything differently in terms of those big crazy decisions
Yeah.
because some of them were super painful, but they stretched me and grew me to
Hmm.
go, wow, look what you just lived through.
Yeah.
But I do think just a deeper self-respect and choosing friendships um, and relationships that respect you would
Yeah.
be just more important. Um, and yeah, I hope to pass that on to my daughter.
Yeah.
I don't know if that was answered your question,
It
but
did. It totally did. And I completely relate. I also desperately needed that advice, especially in college. I needed that advice. Yeah. I can definitely relate to that.
Mhm.
So the final question I ask for all guests is what's one thing you wish you knew when you started your entrepreneurial journey?
Hmm. That you can print overseas.
It's possible.
You can do it.
Yes.
No, that would have been really hard. Actually, I wouldn't have gotten my product in on time. So
Yeah, fair.
yeah, there's that. I guess it would have been nice to know like it's all going to work out,
Hmm.
you know. But yeah, I think that was one of my biggest shifts was printing overseas and a whole new supply chain and process. Like that
Yeah.
definitely changed the game. Um, Also, I didn't know how to mark up a product.
Yeah.
Everything was like $37 feels good. I just was winging
Yes.
it. So, and I didn't have any
Yeah.
I didn't have any business background. And
Hmm.
so I was just making up prices, you know, I didn't know what I was doing. And so there were so many things I learned after the fact. But at the end of the day, we're still here. So it's okay.
Yeah.
Just learn the hard way.
Yep. Yep. No way better than to learn than that hands-on experience of failing fast. And what you hope is that you fail fast, you come back better from it afterwards.
Mhm.
So, Polly, where can people find you if they want to learn more about Horatio or if they want to learn about print school? If they want to connect with you, how do they do all of those things?
Yeah. So I have two different websites for both sides of the business. So HoracioPrinting.com is where you can go and learn and see all the things Horatio, our planners that are coming out at the end of September, our Bible studies, vision board kit, all the things. And then DreamPrinting.co is where you can learn all things print school and connect with me there on Instagram. I'm Polly Payne on Instagram. We also have our Horatio Printing account and print school account. So feel free to connect any of those places. I'd love to chat.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. I appreciate your generous heart and spirit. And I know so many of your students do and customers on the Horatio side. So thank you for being generous with your time as well this morning. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Courtney.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of the Entrepreneur's Blueprint. I hope you found inspiration and insights to fuel your entrepreneurial journey. If you're looking for support in building or scaling your business profitably, visit my website or send me an email to learn more about how I help mission-driven businesses become more profitable, proactive, and efficient. If you enjoyed today's episode, please take a moment to leave a review on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. It really helps other entrepreneurs discover the show, and it would mean so much to me as well. Until next time, keep building, keep dreaming, and keep going.